Welcome to the deep dive today. We're exploring a story that I think is going to leave you wondering how something like this could actually happen.
Yeah, it's really a case where a mother's intuition was just completely pitted against the odds.
Yeah, official pronouncements, you name it.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder, I think, that sometimes reality can be stranger than fiction, and truth can take a long and winding path to be revealed.
We're diving into the case of Delmar Vera, a baby girl who was declared dead in a house fire, only to resurface 6 years later.
And we're going to be talking today about how miscommunication and cultural differences and even just societal assumptions can create these roadblocks to justice.
Buckle up for a story about a mother-daughter bond deception and a fight for the truth that spanned years.
This case really gripped the nation, I think, raising these profound questions about family and justice and just how the human mind works.
The story begins in Feltonville, North Philadelphia. It's December 1997, a cold night. Imagine a young couple, Luz and Pedro Vera, in their home with their newborn daughter, Delmar, and their two sons.
It was supposed to be a time of joy and celebration, but tragedy struck and it just changed everything.
On December 15th, a fire ripped through their home. Delmar's room was engulfed in flames. In the chaos and terror, one chilling detail emerged. Baby Delmar was missing.
And so the official investigation concluded that the fire was caused by faulty wiring and that baby Delmar had died in the flames.
But Luz, the baby's mother, refused to accept this.
Right.
She insisted from the beginning that Delmar was gone before the fire.
Her certainty was just unwavering. She could feel it in her heart that her daughter was alive.
But there was no evidence to support her claims. So Luz's pleas for an investigation were dismissed by the authorities.
Just imagine the anguish of being told that your child is dead when you know deep down that something isn't right.
And having your concerns just brushed aside.
Totally.
I mean, the lack of a body should have been a glaring red flag
Huge red flag.
for investigators.
Yeah, it really suggests that there was a rush to judgment, and it just shows how crucial it is to be thorough and meticulous in these missing persons cases, especially when a parent is so adamant about their child's absence.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you think about, Luz faced communication barriers because of her limited English.
Right.
And this could have hindered her ability to convey the urgency of her suspicions.
Absolutely. Those cultural and language barriers can create significant obstacles in sensitive situations like this. It can lead to misunderstandings and it can impede the pursuit of justice.
It really underscores the importance of having culturally competent and language accessible resources available to everybody.
For sure.
So Luz and Pedro were left with this profound sense of loss and this suspicion that the truth was far from what the official reports stated.
They clung to hope that their daughter might still be out there somewhere.
Yeah, their story could have ended there. A tragic fire, a missing child, and a family that's forever haunted by unanswered questions.
But fate had other plans.
6 years passed. 6 long years of grieving and searching and hoping against hope. And then a family gathering through an unexpected twist into their lives.
Yeah, an encounter that would reignite their fight for the truth and set in motion this chain of events that no one could have predicted.
So Luz is at this party, and she sees a little girl who's about 6 years old named Aaliyah. And the resemblance to her other children is striking. She notices these distinct dimples that are so familiar.
Yeah, it was like a jolt to her memory, a flicker of recognition that sent chills down her spine.
And as Luz is observing this little girl, she notices something even more unsettling. The girl's mother is Carolyn Correa, a relative who had been at the Vera home the night of the fire.
Right, at the time her presence was noted in the initial reports, but no significant connection was made between her and Delmar's disappearance.
But for Luz, seeing Aaliyah with Carolyn was like a puzzle piece suddenly clicking into place.
It was like a mother's intuition that had been simmering for years was suddenly roaring back to life.
Luz became consumed with a powerful conviction that Aaliyah was her Delmar, the daughter she had mourned for so long.
So now she's thinking that the person she had welcomed into her home, the person who was there that night, might be the one responsible for her daughter's disappearance.
But suspicion wasn't enough. Luz needed proof, and she knew that she had to act quickly and discreetly.
She found herself in a position where she had to navigate this really complex and daunting situation, and time was of the essence.
So she takes a bold step.
Yeah.
She has limited resources. She's facing language barriers. So she relies on her own ingenuity to get the evidence that she needs.
That's incredible.
In a moment of quick thinking and determination, she comes up with a plan that would change everything.
Wow.
While pretending to remove gum from Aaliyah's hair, she managed to secure a hair sample.
Oh my God.
I know it was risky, but Luz knew this was her only chance to uncover the truth and to finally get someone to listen to her story.
It's amazing. It was a testament to her resilience and her refusal to give up on her daughter.
And this simple act of a mother's love and desperation would prove to be the key that unlocked this mystery that had haunted this family for so long.
Incredible, and it set the stage for a dramatic confrontation with the truth, a truth that had been hidden in plain sight for 6 years. So Les has this evidence, but she knows she needs help navigating this system that had failed her before.
Right, so she turned to Representative Angel Cruz, a local politician who understood the legal system and also spoke Spanish, so he could really bridge that communication gap.
Yeah, Cruz was skeptical at first, but I think Liz's conviction and the potential gravity of the claims convinced him to take on this case.
He really became her advocate and worked to convince law enforcement to reopen the investigation.
It's amazing that the case got a second look.
I know, it really speaks to their persistence.
Yeah.
And the DNA test results confirmed the impossible. Aaliyah was Delmar,
Wow.
the child everyone believed had perished all those years ago.
So the focus of the case changes completely now.
Yeah.
It's not about a missing child, it's about a kidnapping.
A stolen identity.
And a mother fighting to reclaim what was rightfully hers.
The realization that Carolyn had allegedly orchestrated the scheme to take Delmar was shocking.
Right. How could someone so close to the family do this?
It raises so many questions about her motives and the deception.
Totally.
And when confronted with the truth, Carolyn disappeared, leaving behind her 3 other children.
Wow, so she just vanished,
Yeah, and a trail of unanswered questions.
cementing her guilt in the eyes of the law.
For sure. Meanwhile, Liz and Pedro are grappling with this wave of emotions.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Relief that their daughter's alive,
Mm.
but also anger and bewilderment.
It must have been an emotional roller coaster to rediscover a child you thought you had lost while also dealing with the betrayal of someone you thought was family.
Absolutely. And the joyous reunion was kind of overshadowed by the task of reintegrating Delmar into a family she had never known.
Yeah, I mean, she was 6 years old at this point. She'd spent her whole life believing Carolyn was her mother. She didn't speak Spanish.
She had no memories of her biological family.
This case is really a powerful example of the long-lasting impact of trauma, not just on Delmar,
Right, on the entire family.
who grieved and wondered for years.
Yeah, the emotional scars run deep, and the process of healing and rebuilding trust is so difficult.
Absolutely. So Carolyn eventually turned herself in,
Okay.
but her explanation just deepened the mystery.
She claimed that Pedro had given Delmar to her,
Oh, wow.
a story that was dismissed by the Veras in the courts.
It's incredible how people can create these narratives to protect themselves from guilt.
Yeah, Carolyn may have believed she was saving Delmar, but her actions were illegal.
And harmful.
Her lack of remorse and her attempts to shift the blame onto others further complicated the case.
Right, it makes it so much harder for the victims to find closure.
So we have a mother reunited with her daughter and a woman facing serious consequences for her actions.
But the story doesn't end there. This case has implications for justice and family dynamics that are still relevant today. So Carolyn's trial was in 2005, and it brought the legal proceedings to a head, but it didn't erase what happened.
Of course not. The judge actually expressed disbelief at Carolyn's story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and was particularly disturbed by her lack of remorse
It's understandable.
for the pain she had caused the Veras.
Right.
So she was convicted of kidnapping, arson, and concealing the whereabouts of a child and sentenced to 9 to 30 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, and this case really highlights how actions have consequences.
Absolutely.
Shows that the justice system should hold people accountable.
Definitely. But even though the criminal case ended, there were still some unanswered questions.
Yeah, like Carolyn's claim that Pedro was involved in giving Delmar to her.
Right, and that was never proven.
It just added another layer of complexity to the case.
It makes you wonder if all aspects of the case were truly investigated.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about how important it is to make sure justice is truly served.
For sure.
Well, after the trial, Lowe's and Pedro filed a civil lawsuit against the city of Philadelphia.
What were they alleging?
They said that the authorities didn't properly investigate Lowe's claims in the beginning,
Oh, wow.
and that language barriers and cultural insensitivity prevented them from getting justice.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah. And even though the lawsuit was unsuccessful, it brought up important issues
Like what?
about police procedures and the need for cultural awareness within law enforcement.
That's so important.
It really is. It also showed how hard it is for people who don't speak English or who aren't familiar with the legal system to deal with these complex situations.
It's a system that can be hard to navigate for anyone.
Absolutely. I think the Delmar Vera case was so captivating because of the shocking events and the questions it raised about family and resilience.
It really made people think about their own biases and how easily we believe what we're told.
Yeah, even when the evidence suggests something else might be going on,
Right.
it's a powerful reminder to listen to others and challenge assumptions and advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves.
It really makes you think, are there other stories out there that we're not hearing?
Exactly. It shows that truth can be stranger than fiction, and that the fight for justice can be long and complicated.
Well, I think this has been a fascinating deep dive.
I agree.
It really makes you think critically about the world and question what you're told.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into another captivating story.
We'll be back soon with another case that will challenge your perspective.
Until then, stay curious, keep learning, and remember that everyone has a voice that deserves to be heard.